I'm planning on selling these 3 figures away, so before I sell them, here are the 3 MCU Iron Man Mark 1 figures that we've gotten from Hasbro. The first one is from the movie series, and the gold one is a variant. I guess it's kind of a concept because the armor is definitely not in gold. And the third one is the same exact figure, just a repaint that came out in the MCU 10th year anniversary series. All the 3 figures are exactly the same, just a different set of paintwork, and each of them comes with a different colored missile. Here's a quick look at the gold version before I put it aside. It is just simply gold in color. The gold paintwork does have a bit of shine to it, and there are black paintwork as well at the hands, some of the weapons, and at the back. This whole part over here, and also at the back of the legs. So yeah, that's just basically it, just a gold repaint of the first figure. For the previous version, the paintwork is grey with brown wash over it, but the newer one has metallic silver with some brown wash over it as well. The newer one definitely looks more metallic compared to the old version. The art reactor on the new one is also painted better than the previous version. This is just like a plain white circle. Both of them have these letters and numbers printed at the right side of the torso. And the newer one have this camo effect at the front, unlike the previous version. On the right arm, this tube is painted for the new figure, but the previous one is unpainted. Same goes for the left arm, more camo paintwork on the new figure. Same goes for the back, there are more paintwork on the newer version. They have kind of like brownish orange at the top, and again the same green one at the back side over here. The previous version is just grey with a bit of brown wash. The paintwork at the mechanical parts over here is also better on this newer version. Look at the paintwork, it looks really good and weathered compared to the other one, which is kind of plain looking. At the front of the foot, the new one has this paintwork at the front of the right foot, and at the side of the leg, the previous one has black paintwork at the knee joint, unlike the new one which is totally in silver. Same goes for the other side. And at the back, paintwork again over here, and also the paintwork of the wires at the back of the leg over here looks better than the previous version. Here's a closer look at the wires. So between these two, to me the paintwork of the new figure is definitely better than the previous one. This one has more shine to it, but at the same time, it does look weathered, and the bits of colors on some parts of the figures does add on to the overall look of the figure. But the problem with this body mold is that it's really too undersized. Look at this Tony Stark figure that comes with the 10th year anniversary Iron Man Mark 1. They are about the same height, and even the head is about the same size. So you really cannot imagine having a man inside this armor. This looks like a robot actually, instead of Tony Stark being in the armor. And like, look at the gap at the crotch area. It's really big. Doesn't look humanly possible. And each of the figure comes with a missile because they have this gimmick whereby you can insert the missile at the forearm over here. But the thing about the gimmick is that there isn't any button for you to like press it so that it launches off. You just kind of like have to pull it inwards and let it go. So like, how do I show it? I pull it back and then just let it go. There. There isn't any button for you to press to shoot out the missile. And it would have been so great if they make it look more like a flame instead of a missile. Because in the movie, there were flamethrowers on the forearms. And lastly, articulation. There is a decent amount of articulation, but the range of movement isn't much. The head can only rotate left and right like this. There is no up and down movement. The arms go up to the side this much. There isn't any bicep swivel. The arms can rotate, of course. And at the elbow joint, it is a single hinge joint which can only move this much. And it can also rotate. There isn't any articulation at the wrist. There is a waist swivel allowing this much movement only. And at the hip joint, the legs can do this amount of split. It can move forward this much, and if you kind of like move it more sideways, it can go up a bit higher. No thigh swivel, single hinge knee joint, which allows only this much movement. And at the ankle, it can rotate and also hinge up and down just a bit. So in terms of articulation, not really that great. But articulation aside, the main problem with this Mark 1 figure is that it is too small. When you compare it with the Tony Stark that it came with, and also with the more recent Mark III, you can really see how undersized this body mold is. And it's really unfortunate for the MCU 10th year anniversary, Hasbro just decided to do a repaint of this figure instead of creating a new Mark I. And the other Mark I figures that we've gotten from Yamaguchi Revoltech and also Figuart is about the same size as this figure. So the other alternative to this Mark I is from ZD Toys. Look at the size of the figure. This ZD Toys Mark I looks really good and the size definitely fits Marvel Legends scale. The paintwork of these two figures is kind of similar in the sense that it has the yellow at the tube here and also a bit of green over here and here. But if you take a closer look, the arc reactor is sculpted really so much better than the Hasbro version. And look at the sculpted weathering and the paintwork on the figure. It's really good for a figure that you are getting at the price point. The way this yellow tube attached is different compared to the Hasbro version. It doesn't have a big gap at the crotch unlike this one. And again, look at the weathering on the legs. There is some shine to the paintwork, but the greyish wash does make it look weathered as well and it really looks excellent. Again at the foot, there is an attempt of some paintwork over here, just like on the Hasbro version. Here's a closer look. At the forearm, you have this part where the flamethrower comes out from on both sides of the forearms. And I think the paintwork on this belting looks so much better compared to the Hasbro version. This is the Hasbro version. Not so bad I guess, but the ZD Toys version did it better. And one last thing from the front, you can see some exposed parts over here at the arms and also the neck area, which I feel is a bit more accurate to the movies because in the movies, the armor was kind of like slapped on instead of like totally covering the whole body like Mark II onwards. Look at the brownish part where the body is kind of exposed and also at the neck area. Again at the back, the paintwork is kind of similar, having this brownish part and the greenish part here. And the sculpt at these mechanical parts over here looks really good. It is a separate piece actually. You can take it off and here it is. Look at the sculpt, it's really good in my opinion. Here's the other side and you simply just kind of like attach it at the back. You can see the exposed part of his body at this part near the neck. And at the back of the legs, I think this belting and all these parts does make it look more realistic and it doesn't have the wiring at the back part over here unlike this one. You can even kind of see tubings on the inner side of this cover. Same goes on the other side. They have the cylindrical pump or something on the inner side of this armor. So in terms of appearance, everything is better on this figure in my opinion. The only thing that is not great are the eyes. It's really unpainted and yeah, I think even the black paintwork does make it look a bit better. Figuart have his human eyes painted, but yeah, having the eyes in black I think would have made the figure look a bit better. And another downside for this figure is that the articulation isn't really that great. Head able to turn left and right, no up and down movement, just only that much. The arms are only able to go up this much towards the side. Definitely no bicep swivel, the arms able to rotate, and the elbow hinge joint doesn't give much bend. And this time round, the whole forearm cannot rotate, unlike the Hasbro version. So yeah, you can't rotate the arms. That's really a downer. No waist swivel, legs only able to move apart this much. Legs can only move forward this much to the front. There is a thigh swivel, but it doesn't allow much rotation, just this much. Single hinge knee joint, which has more range of movement compared to the Hasbro version. And for the ankle, the left one doesn't really have much articulation there. This is about the only movement that it can do because of being restricted by the armor around the foot. But for the other one, it can rotate around like this. Not really much up and down movement, just more of rotation. So in terms of articulation, both of them not really great. Both of them are not able to do this pose. The ZD Toys can only do it, but only if you have the feet out sideways like this. Like, yeah, that shouldn't be the case. It has to be pointing down, but you can't make the kneeling position if the feet is pointing downwards like this. But just in vanilla pose, definitely ZD Toys is the winner. And the fact that ZD Toys comes with these flame effects, it definitely looks way better. Although, if he were to shoot it out, you can't like kind of rotate the forearm, which is really a downside to this. Yeah, this is what he can do. Just having the flame pointed out without rotating the forearm. And for size comparison, definitely scales better with the recent MCU Marvel Legends Iron Man figures. Look at that. Now it's kind of in scale, having the Mark 1 slightly bigger than Mark 3. And here's Tony Stark. The Tony Stark figure is slightly smaller than the Mark 3, but I think it is still at least realistic to have a human size like this to be in the armor compared to being in this armor. So that's why I'm definitely selling off all three of the Hasbro Mark 1 and just sticking to this ZD Toys Mark 1 instead of Figuart or Revoltech because those two are also very small. Check out my video on why I quit collecting ZD Toys except for this Mark 1 and do subscribe to my channel.